Okay, so you're someone who likes to get to the point. You want to understand stuff, but like really quickly.
You want to cut through all the,
Sassies.
fluff. You just get to the heart of the matter.
You are in the right place.
That's it. This is the deep dive.
And today we are talking about
Yeah, today's topic
it's
is
something you hear all the time,
deep processing
deep and surface processing.
versus surface processing.
And it sounds simple enough,
It does? Yeah.
but there's a lot more to it.
Oh, yeah, way more to it than you think.
To guide us through all this, we are using a 2012 literature review.
Oh, yeah.
It was published in Educational Psychology Review.
Great journal.
And these researchers, they looked at 221 studies,
Wow.
all about this deep versus surface processing.
That's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
221.
Yeah. And,
Yeah,
a lot of people think
Deeper is better.
deep processing is always better.
But these researchers found
They found that.
that's not always true.
No, not necessarily, no. So, yeah.
So it makes you wonder.
Makes you wonder, like, how should you study for a test?
Right. Like, how should you
Well,
study?
how should I teach this concept to my students?
How can I be sure that they're actually learning?
Exactly. And so today, that's what we're going to do. We are going to unpack this whole idea of deep and surface processing and why those 221 studies didn't all agree.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, we're going to look at what does deep even mean?
What does surface even mean?
How do researchers even measure this stuff?
Right, because you can't just
You can't just be like, oh, yeah, you're thinking deep today.
right. How do you quantify deep? How do you measure deep?
Exactly. And then we're also going to get into where you are when you're learning matters.
Context is everything.
And also, how do researchers even set up these studies in the first place?
Yeah, because if the study is set up wonky,
Right.
the results are going to be wonky.
They might find stuff that isn't even real.
Exactly. So we have to look at all of that to understand what's going on here.
Exactly. Okay, so first up is this whole idea of deep processing always being better.
Right. That's kind of the conventional wisdom, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but
the
research doesn't back that up.
doesn't always support that.
No.
And the authors of this review, they pointed to a bunch of other researchers
Yeah.
who are saying the same thing.
Block, for example.
Heine Peninga.
Yeah.
Ejika.
Kandika. All of them saying hey, we really need to
Yeah.
question this assumption.
That deeper is always better.
Yeah, and that matters.
Yeah, because it makes it hard to give advice
To students, to teachers, to parents.
to administrators.
How are we supposed to design effective learning experiences if we don't actually know
what
works best?
So it's important.
It is.
Cool.
So yeah, so the authors of the review, they looked at four main things
They do.
to try to unpack this problem
Look at it.
of inconsistency.
Yeah,
So first up,
Yeah.
they looked at conceptualization, which is a fancy way of
it is.
articulating-
How do researchers define deep processing?
What does it even mean?
Right.
And you'd be surprised.
Like, do all these researchers even agree on what it is?
Exactly.
And the review found that almost half
Almost half
of the studies
of the 221 studies
didn't even
I won't.
didn't
are
define.
meant by deep or surface processing.
Wow. That's kind of a problem.
That's a huge problem.
That is huge.
So, of course, the results are going to be all over the place.
Of course. Yeah.
If you don't even know what you're talking about.
Exactly. It's like comparing apples and oranges and then
Yeah.
wondering why they're different.
Right.
And so they did find some studies that had definitions,
Okay.
but there were a few different types.
Yeah.
Some were explicit,
Which means,
which means they straight up said what they meant,
yeah,
like Jay and colleagues.
in 2008,
Yeah, they said that shallow processing is when
Yeah.
you're just focusing on the surface details.
yeah.
Like, just the words on the page.
Yeah.
Or the sounds of the word.
Not the meaning.
Right. And then deep processing
Okay.
is when you're really
Inky.
engaging with the meaning,
Yeah.
trying to understand the underlying concepts and
Right.
stuff.
Okay.
So that's explicit.
Okay.
They just said it.
Okay.
But then there were some implicit definitions,
Okay.
which are a little more subtle.
Yeah.
So sometimes it was conceptual, like they didn't actually say it outright,
Didn't say it.
but you could kind of
You could infer.
infer from the context.
Yeah. Okay.
And then sometimes it was referential. Like they just referred to another study,
yeah.
like Graham and Golan in 1991.
Okay.
They just referenced Craik and Lockhart's work from 1972,
Okay.
but they didn't really explain it in their own study.
So that's not helpful.
Not super helpful now.
If you haven't read that other study.
Right. And then the most problematic type of implicit definition
Okay.
is when they define deep and surface processing solely by how they measured it.
Okay.
So like if they used a multiple choice test
You're right.
that mainly tested like facts and stuff,
Yeah.
they would say, oh, that's measuring surface processing.
But they wouldn't say why.
Right. But they wouldn't explain like what about a multiple choice test is inherently surface.
That's just assuming
Exactly.
that type of test is surface.
It's like defining a hammer as a tool for hitting nails
Right.
instead of describing what a hammer is and how it works.
And how it's different from other tools.
Exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
Thanks.
So basically, they didn't really
They weren't really.
explain what was actually happening in the student's brain.
In a learner's brain, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a problem.
Right.
And then they also looked at the keywords
They did.
that researchers used in these definitions.
They did.
And some of the most common ones were,
Intention.
yeah, and those tie into a theory called approaches to learning,
Okay.
or AL for short.
Okay.
So AL was developed by Biggs.
In 1978.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this theory is all about you as a learner. You make a choice
Okay.
about how you're going to approach learning something.
So you're saying it's like my mindset.
It's kind of like your mindset, yeah.
Okay.
So you can have a deep approach,
Okay.
which is when you're really trying to understand the material.
Okay.
You're trying to connect it to what you already know.
You're trying to make it meaningful.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then you can have a surface approach,
Okay.
which is more about just getting through it.
Okay.
Like maybe just to pass a test,
Okay.
not really caring about understanding it deeply.
Right.
Just trying to get the grade.
Okay. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one way of thinking about it.
Okay.
But there's another theory,
There is.
yeah, called information processing theory, or IPT.
Okay.
And this goes back to Craik and Lockhart.
From 1972.
Yep.
Okay.
And their focus is a little different. They're
Uh-huh.
more interested in how memories are formed.
Oh, so like the actual
The actual brain processes, yeah.
biology.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in IPT, deep processing involves something called semantic encoding,
Okay.
which means you're thinking about the meaning of the information.
Okay.
Like, what does it actually mean to you?
Right.
How does it relate to your life?
Okay.
And surface processing is more about encoding based on like,
Superficial.
yeah, superficial stuff, like
Okay.
how the words sound or look.
So this is a different way of thinking about it than the AL framework.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
AL is more about your intention.
Like what I want to get out of it.
Yeah, like, are you choosing to go deep or are you choosing to just skim the surface?
Right.
IPT is more about like what's happening in your brain regardless of your intention.
Okay, so that's two different theories.
Two different theories.
Got it.
And then there's a third one.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, there's one more. It's called the model of domain learning.
Or MDL.
Yeah, MDL.
Okay.
And this one was developed by Alexander
When was this?
in 1997.
Okay, so more recent.
Yeah, a bit more recent.
Okay.
And MDL brings in the idea of the academic domain.
Okay.
Like, what subject are you learning
Oh, okay.
and how much you already know about it?
Okay.
So, like, if you're learning a brand new language,
yeah,
you're probably going to approach that differently
way differently.
than if you're just reviewing material.
For a test in a subject you already know well.
Right.
Okay, so the subject matters.
It does. Yeah.
Okay.
So these three theories, AL, IPT, and MDL.
They don't always agree on what deep and surface processing even are.
No, they don't.
So that's one reason why the research is so inconsistent.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because researchers are using different definitions.
Or no definition at all.
Or no definition at all.
And we also shouldn't forget that we can't just put people into these neat little boxes like deep learner.
Or a surface learner
Because we might be a deep learner in one subject.
and a surface learner in another.
Yeah.
It depends on the context
And our motivation.
and our goals.
Right.
So it's much more complex than just saying someone is a deep learner.
Right.
It's more nuanced than.
Oh, okay. So that's how deep processing is defined or not defined.
Right.
But then how do researchers actually measure this stuff?
Yeah. That's a whole other can of worms.
Right. Because it's not
You
like,
can't just like look at someone's brain and be like,
oh, yeah, you're doing deep processing right now.
right.
So they have to come up with ways to measure it indirectly.
Right.
And the review found a bunch of different methods that researchers were using.
Like what?
So one really common one was self-report questionnaires.
Like a survey.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So one example is the Motivated Strategies for Learning questionnaire.
MSLQ.
Yeah, the MSLQ.
Okay.
And that asks you about your learning habits and your attitudes.
Okay.
Like, do you try to understand the material deeply or do you just try to memorize it?
And then some researchers would create their own questionnaires,
Okay.
which they called RDQ.
RDQ, okay.
But the problem with self-report questionnaires is that
People aren't always aware.
of their own thinking.
Yeah,
Like you might think you're studying deeply.
but you're actually not.
Right.
Or you might not even know how to study deeply.
Like
so
what-
it's not always accurate.
No, it's not.
Okay.
And then another method they used was by condition.
By condition. Okay.
So in these studies, the researchers would try to encourage different levels of processing
Okay.
by giving participants different instructions or different tasks to do.
Okay.
So, for example, McKelvey and Polora in 1988,
Okay.
they had participants rate words based on how pleasant they found them.
Okay.
So the idea was that that would encourage deeper processing.
Because you have to think about the meaning
Right.
of the word.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then they had them rate other words based on how visually complex they were.
Like how many squiggles?
Yeah, like how many letters or how many syllables.
Okay.
And that was supposed to encourage more surface processing
Okay.
because you're just looking at the superficial features of the word.
Not the meaning.
Right.
Okay.
But the problem with this method is that
Just because you tell someone to think deeply,
doesn't mean they actually will.
it's like telling someone to ride a bike by just saying pedal hard.
Exactly.
They might not know how to balance or steer,
Right.
so you're just assuming
You're assuming.
that the instructions worked.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's by condition.
Yeah.
And then what else?
So then they also used physiological responses
Like,
like eye tracking.
oh,
So Shi and Chen in 2009,
Okay.
they used eye tracking.
and the idea is,
The idea is that when you're really engaged with something,
yeah,
your eyes move differently
then when you're just skimming.
than when you're just skimming. Yeah.
Okay.
So they were trying to use eye movements as a measure of processing depth.
Okay. I can see how that would work.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach.
Yep.
And they also used coding schemes
Okay.
where they would analyze things like think aloud protocols,
So like when someone is talking out loud.
talking out loud about their thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
Like Ferguson Hessler and Dijon.
Okay.
In 1990, they did a study in physics
Okay.
where they had students think aloud while they were solving problems.
And then they coded
And then they coded those transcripts.
to see what kind of thinking they were doing.
Exactly.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a way to get more insight into the actual cognitive processes.
Yeah, okay.
But it's also very time consuming
Yeah, I bet.
to code all those transcripts.
Yeah.
And then there were some studies
Yeah?
where they didn't even describe how they measured processing depth at all.
Like, at all.
Like they just said they measured it,
But they didn't say how.
but they didn't say how.
That's weird.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And then there were some studies where they tried to infer the level of processing just from the outcome.
So, like, if the student did well on a test, yeah, they would assume that they must have engaged in deep processing. But, as we talked about earlier,
You can do well on a test without understanding the material.
exactly.
You can just memorize it.
You can just memorize it.
So that's not a reliable measure either.
Not really, no.
Okay.
And then another problem they found was that,
Researchers were oversimplifying things.
yeah, they were.
Like even when they had data that was on a spectrum.
Like responses on a questionnaire,
Yeah.
they would just divide students into two groups.
Deep or surface.
Deep or surface.
But that's not really accurate
That's not.
because most people are somewhere in between.
Exactly.
So by forcing everyone into those two categories.
You lose a lot of nuance.
Exactly.
And you might end up with misleading results.
Okay, so how researchers measure deep and surface processing.
Is another reason why the research findings are so all over the place.
Okay, that makes sense.
Different methods, different results.
Right.
And some methods might be better suited to certain theories than others.
Yeah.
Like, if you're using AL, the approaches to learning framework,
Yeah.
then a self-report questionnaire might make sense.
Because it's about the learner's intentions.
Right.
Okay.
But if you're using IPT,
yeah.
then you probably need a more objective measure.
Like eye tracking or brain scans or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the method matters,
It does.
and it has to match the theory.
Okay.
And now for the third area,
Wait, context.
What?
Context. Because where you are when you're learning
matters.
matters a lot.
It does.
And Alexander and her colleagues.
In 2009,
Yeah.
they talked about the topography of learning.
The what?
The topography of learning,
Okay.
which is all about how the context of learning is like the landscape
Okay.
that shapes the learning process.
Okay.
So, like, think about it.
Yeah.
Learning in a quiet library
Yeah.
is very different.
Then learning in a busy coffee shop.
Or learning alone versus learning with a group.
Totally different.
Totally different. And even like,
Cultural norms can play a role.
yeah, like how much your culture values education.
Can influence how you approach learning.
Exactly.
Okay, so context is important.
Very important.
But the review found that
A lot of the studies
didn't pay enough attention to context.
didn't really consider it. Yeah.
Many of the questionnaires,
Didn't even ask about a specific subject.
they were just like, how do you study in general?
Yeah, like in FANS 2009A study,
Yeah.
it just asked about studying in a course
But like,
But what
what
goes
you
into-
even learning?
Exactly.
So some studies did specify a context.
Yeah, like Rodriguez in 2009
Okay.
focused on learning in a business classroom.
Okay.
That's more specific.
Yeah.
But
A
overall
lot of the research.
was domain general,
Yeah.
meaning it wasn't focused on any particular subject.
Like it was just about learning in general, and
Yeah.
that's a problem.
It is
It's
because
different subjects.
require different approaches.
Right.
Like math is different from literature.
Which is different from history. Exactly.
So if you're trying to study deep and surface processing,
Without considering the specific subject,
you might miss some important stuff.
you might, yeah.
Like what works in one subject might not work in another.
Exactly.
Okay, so context matters.
Context matters.
Okay.
And then the last area,
Model specification.
model specification, yeah.
So this is all about how researchers actually design their studies.
Yeah, like what are they measuring?
And what are they trying to find out?
Exactly.
And this is important because,
It can influence the results.
right,
If you're not measuring the right things,
or if you're not controlling for certain factors,
then your findings might be misleading.
right,
It's like trying to bake a cake,
Yeah.
but leaving out a key ingredient.
and then wondering why it tastes bad.
Exactly.
Okay,
So the review looked at what researchers were measuring as the outcomes.
like what were they trying to see?
If deep and surface processing influence,
Yeah,
and the most common outcomes were,
memory and recall.
like how much information could the students remember?
Exactly.
And then also
Academic performance.
with like grades.
Yeah, grades and test scores.
Okay, and that makes sense.
It does because
KPT
information processing theory.
is all about how memories are formed.
Right,
So it makes sense that they would focus on memory and recall as outcomes.
exactly.
Okay.
And then they also looked at the predictors.
Like what factors might influence whether someone engages in deep or surface processing?
Exactly.
Okay.
And the most common predictor was
Motivation.
motivation, yeah.
Okay, so like how much the student wants to learn.
Exactly.
Okay.
But that raises some questions. Like, first of all,
Yeah.
is just remembering information the same thing as understanding it?
Good question.
Like you can memorize something
Yeah.
without really understanding it.
Yeah, like a parrot.
Exactly.
Okay. And then second of all,
Is motivation the only thing that matters?
or even the most important thing,
Right. What about other factors like metacognition,
metacognition. Okay.
which is your ability to think about your own thinking?
So like being aware of how you're learning
Exactly.
and being able to adjust your strategies.
Right.
Okay.
So the way researchers design their studies
Yeah.
can really affect what they find.
Yeah, because they might be missing important factors.
Or they might be measuring the wrong things.
Right.
And that can lead to misleading conclusions.
Okay. So
Yeah. So the review found that all of these inconsistencies
in how deep and surface processing are defined, studied, it's probably why the research findings are so inconsistent. It's
Exact.
not as simple as just saying deep processing is good.
And surface processing is bad.
Right.
It's more complicated than that.
Okay.
And they did find that studies which focused on specific skills and strategies
Okay.
that students used while doing a specific task
Okay.
tended to have more consistent results.
So like if you're studying how students solve math problems,
Yeah.
you should focus on the specific strategies they're using,
Right.
not just whether they're thinking deeply or not.
Exactly. So the takeaway for you, the listener,
Yeah.
is that deep and surface processing,
Sure, not these like
black and white categories,
yeah, good and bad.
good and bad. Yeah,
Right.
it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Depends on a lot of factors,
Right.
like who the learner is,
Okay.
their prior knowledge, their goals, their learning style,
Okay.
and where they're learning,
The context.
the context, yeah,
Okay.
and when they're learning.
Like a stage is learning.
Yeah, like are they just starting out?
Or are they reviewing for a test?
Exactly.
And how much time they have.
And how much pressure they're under,
Right.
and most importantly, what they're learning.
The actual subject.
The subject, yeah. So it's not one size fits all.
Right.
Deep processing might be great for some things.
And surface processing might be fine for others.
Exactly.
Okay, so what can researchers do to improve their studies
Well, they need to be more precise in their definitions.
of deep and surface processing?
Yeah. And they need to use more robust and varied measures
Okay.
that go beyond just self-report questionnaires.
Okay.
And they need to pay more attention to context.
Like the subject matter
Yeah.
and the learning environment.
Exactly.
Okay.
So basically, they need to be more nuanced
Yeah.
and less simplistic.
Okay.
And we need to move beyond just saying deep learning is always the goal.
Right. Because
Well,
it ju-
sometimes surface processing is fine
yeah.
or even necessary.
Okay.
So think about it.
Yeah.
Think back to your own experiences as a learner.
Okay.
Can you remember a time when you felt like surface processing?
Memorizing.
Yeah,
It
memorize
was
that.
actually the best way to learn something.
Or the most efficient way.
Yeah.
What were the circumstances?
Yeah, like what was the subject?
What was the task?
Why did that approach work for you?
It's something to think about.
Yeah.
Because it highlights how complex this all really is.
Yeah. It's not as simple as we thought.
Not at all.
Okay, well, this has been a fascinating deep dive
Yeah,
into the world of deep and surface processing.
it's been real.
And we hope you learned something new.
We hope so.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
See you later.
Bye.